This is the S&P 500 Spider ETF SPY one-day reading for March 7th, 2025. It's currently March 3rd, 2025, 7:56 p.m. Eastern Time. SPY at the time of this reading, $583.77. That's USD. And the shuffle video for the March 7th reading was created on February 21st, 2025 at 8:04 p.m. Eastern Time. What we'll go over in this video is the overall trend direction and chart behavior for the day. We'll give you timing of the highest highs and the lowest lows and the chart behavior to look out for signaling those. We'll give you the trades that we see throughout the day, and we'll also give you the hour-by-hour sequence of chart events. It's important to understand that we're predicting the sequence of chart events. The hour-by-hour timing is usually on point, but there will be many cases where you need to give it plus or minus 2 hours of wiggle room, 1 to 2 hours of wiggle room. Most of the time, timing's on point, but there's plenty of examples where you need to do that. So it's not as simple as it looks to trade this alone. That's why I always insist you need to get the Discord trade alerts and TradingView chart as part of the early access subscription if you're actually planning to trade this. Otherwise, just use this as something to prove to you that extrasensory perception exists and can be used practically in the real world, because that's what this video is really for, right? It's to show you that this stuff can actually happen regularly and be counted on, and it's entertainment. If you're going to trade it, I'll show you how to get that early access subscription at the end of the video. So the overall theme and behavior, a big move higher, reaching for distant resistance that looks like it's counteracted. And it may be that this is speaking of like overnight there was a big move to the downside, right? Because we've got this lust card here and a nullified high. And then here we've got the lust card nullified. So probably we saw a high at the end of the day. And we drop overnight. Now, if we don't drop overnight, we're still going to end up lower than we were at the highs of yesterday by 10 o'clock, and we'll talk about it more in just a moment. We should flatten out near the high at an important resistance, and there should be a sharp drop that really stands out on at least a one-day chart, taking us into the lowest low for the day. I'm advised to trade around bearish price swings and or a sharp drop standing out on a multi-day scale. In the pre-market, we have this rally that ends with a fast sudden move higher and then a breakdown through a diagonal trend line with increasing volatility on the way down, taking us into a trough before the open. There's a period of volatility and a sharp drop around the open, but there's also a high there probably right at the open. So there's probably some sort of movement after this decline, some movement to the upside taking us to a peak. And you might be tempted to chase that. I'm advised not to chase that peak. We end up at a trough. And a lowest low between roughly 10 and 11, a big move to the upside out of that. Now remember, into the low, there should be a big move lower, right? So be mindful of that. But a fast sudden move higher out of that low, and then some sort of fake out or shakeout between roughly 11 and 12 intended to make us do the wrong thing impulsively. Sometimes it's a falsely triggered indicator or something like that. Sometimes it's whipsaw action. Sometimes it's it could be a million things. Be very careful. There's likely to be a trough in here as well. Not necessarily lowest low, but a trough between roughly 11 and 12, and then sideways rotation between roughly 12 and 1. Sideways rotation between roughly 12 and 2, actually, it looks like. And then we get into price swings between roughly 2 and 3 with a high for the day probably there around 230. And then that's likely followed by a swing back down into the last hour. So likely there's a price swing to the downside from this peak around 2:30 into the 3 o'clock hour, and then a swing back to the upside and possibly into a peak, a brief peak that's easily missed right around the close, followed by more decline through multiple support levels. You could probably open up a swing trade, a short swing trade at this high, when this big move into a high around 2 o'clock. You could open up a short swing trade with the expectation to close out of it on the 7th, most likely. And I'll update the chart and all that for everybody on Discord after this. You could have watched this video on March 3rd, which is not that far ahead. Usually we're further ahead. But still, you could have watched this video on March 3rd if you had early access on our website. All right, so at the close, brief gets easily missed, followed by more decline through multiple supports. What you would likely do, you could close out of a short position probably midday. More likely, what I would do is I would use this price swing into a high to open up another short position, which you could close for a day trade in the last hour. And if I'm wrong about that, being able to close it in the last hour, very strong possibility you'll be able to close it probably by the end of the day on the 10th. And that's SPY for March 7th, 2025. Let me know what you think by hitting that like button. And my friends, let me show you how to get that early access. You go to our website, Tarot for Traders, hover over Order Now, click on Subscriptions. Early access subscription gets you earliest access to all of our public posts. It gets you the SPY Discord day trade alerts and swing trade alerts. And it gets you the live updated trading view charts as part of the subscription. This is $100 a month. This $600 for a year is going away very, very fast. It's up to $900. So if you're lucky enough to grab it at $6, good for you. Much love and appreciation. Thank you to everybody that does that. Blessings to all my angel investors. I'll see you guys on the next one.